defense. He's a gamer, man.
Yeah.
What can you say? He's a gamer. All right.
And what is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hot Stove After Dark, the show where we talk about things that aren't sports, except for the fact that Josh and I are both watching international women's handball in the background, so that might bleed into this a little bit. France is up 25 minutes in at the moment. Mark, you have an ESPN Plus subscription through me. You can watch it as well if you wanted to.
I can, yes, but I'm using my computer for this, and my phone will be used for our other thing, so...
Oh, yeah.
Did you say this was an After Dark episode?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
An After Dark episode!
After Dark means Josh has to take his shirt off, and Mark has to open his up, question mark, I guess.
There we go.
Your traps are looking great, by the way. They do everything.
It's the only attractive part of my body. That's true.
Yeah, so this is the episode where we do other things, mostly just talk about movies instead of sports. Like I used it to like not paint ourselves into a corner, but that's kind of what we do anyways. So anyways, housekeeping notes before we start. Follow us on Twitter at HotStovePod. It's at HotStovePod on Twitter. Here on YouTube, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, all those things, right? Hope you listened to the radio show this morning. On WQAQ because it was our last one for the semester. And on the show this morning, Mark gave us a great fact about weasels. So we're all better for that.
Feisty little creatures.
Yeah, they're great. They're great creatures. And because of Mark, I'm more knowledgeable about weasels. So that's cool. So like I said, hope you listened to that. It was the last one of the semester. We'll be back at the end of January with the radio show. But here on the podcast, like I said on Twitter, where you can follow us at Hot Stove Pod. The main show is going to be taking a break for a few weeks because we want to do some other stuff. We got a holiday episode planned for next week, and the following week is going to be the 2021 Stovey Awards. Yeah.
Yes.
Which I believe is the third annual Stovey Awards this year.
Indeed.
Yeah. Indubitably. So we'll be doing that instead of the regular show. And part of that is because we've had those ideas for a while. And the other part is I don't feel like talking about sports. So once the semester is over and I'm not bound by the $70,000 I'm paying about sports.
Oh, there we go.
No, you're good. You're good. You're back. Once I'm not bound by the exorbitant amount of money that I'm paying this college to talk about sports, then I won't do it for a little bit. So, yeah, we're going to take the next couple weeks off of the main show, do some other stuff. And then at the beginning of January, it'll almost perfectly line up with the end of the NFL regular season. So likely our first episode of the main show, our next episode of the main show will be our postseason preview at the beginning of January. So that is that. But today, we've got ourselves a special topic. It's one that Mark and I have had in the back pocket for a while, but we've been waiting for a time where we could get Josh on here, similar to the Sandler episode.
That's right.
This is Josh's bread and butter right here.
What kind of story? What can I say?
Today's movie topic, and we did come up with a TV episode earlier today. We got to keep in the pocket as well. I'm not going to spoil it because, what kind of showman am I to spoil future content? But today's topic, it's going to be our top 20. You heard it right, 20 favorite, which is still not the longest list we've done because the comic book movies one was 25. But top 20 comedies of all time. Top 20 ha-ha funny movies of all time. So before we start, I guess I'll ask you guys about like your process when coming up with this. Mark was talking about how tremendously difficult it was for him to put a list together.
Oh my God, this was hard. I knew what number one was. I was like, number one, I know what my favorite comedy is. The other 25, because I've got 6 honorable mentions.
Same.
Were just unbelievable to put them in any sort of order. And I was changing this list earlier today. I rewrote the entire thing last night because I looked at my first list and I was like, no, this isn't good. And then I completely changed it and subtracted like 7 movies and added 7 different ones. Like this was easily the hardest one for me to put together. I still might not agree with it by the end of this.
Yeah,
I'm literally changing mine as we speak.
Just did the same thing.
I'm not.
my process, as a person here, I was kind of going. I have a lot of favorite like comedic actors, for example, Sandler, Farrell, so on and so forth, Vince Vaughn, etc. And so I kind of just had to take my favorite from each one in my mind. Not that there couldn't be multiples, there are multiples for some, but like rather than just stacking this thing with ones that I'll watch constantly, I kind of pick and choose my favorite and how they stack up against other comedies. So that was how I was doing it.
That's fair. And we talked about how difficult, but partially the reason the list is so difficult is because comedy is so subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I talked about it with you guys. Like you guys are going to hate me by the end of this list, I think, because of the amount of like classic comedies that aren't on there because I either haven't seen them or have seen them once and saw them like at the wrong time in my life and I didn't think they were funny. Like this is the problem for me at least. That's a goal for me at least. Creating a list like this.
Oh my god, what was a goal?
I saw that. Yeah. Creating a list like that for me is difficult because what I think is funny changes over time. That's what how everybody feels that way. And also like comedies aren't there's a select few. Comedies aren't very rewatchable to me. It kind of loses it's like watching a mystery over and over again. Once I know it's less entertaining. Like there are very select few movies that I laugh at every time I watch them. And if it's like a comedy that I see that I think is okay and I laugh a lot, but like the second time I watch it, like the rewatch is what makes or breaks a good comedy for me. Because I'll laugh at a lot of stupid shit generally.
Yeah,
but I watch the movie again and I continue to laugh, or if I like pick up on new jokes, I completely forgot a movie in this list. All right, I'll have to change that while we're talking because I completely forgot a movie that I just remembered.
I'm really hoping
there's 2 that I've remembered that I'm just not going to change the list anymore. I can't.
I'm sure that'll happen
there for me.
I'm sure it'll happen where I'll be like, how did I not think of that? But the top like 15 of mine are movies that if anyone on any given day at any time was like, hey, do you want to watch X? I'd be like, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's watch it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just going to watch it no matter what.
Yeah, that's the thing. Looking at mine, like we got 26 on here, and I laugh at every single one of these every time I watch it. Like that was the biggest thing for me was all of these need to be movies that I can rewatch, and it doesn't matter how many times I watch them, I'm going to laugh. Like some of these, I still laugh just as hard, if not harder, than the first time I saw them. But I still need to like really be able to find it funny, even after like some of these 15, 20 rewatches.
Yeah. Basically, that's what that is. And I just added a movie to my list. It's pretty high, and like I said, I completely forgot about it.
I will say,
what were you gonna say?
My list also. I want to be. I'm pretty inclusive. I was trying to bring in different types of comedy from all around.
Yeah.
And think about what gets me. So.
Yeah, well, and that's part of it too. Is like it's so reflective of your own personal taste.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't care for like the 80s, like the 70s and 80s like screwball comedies. It's not my thing. It's Mark's thing. I know
there's a lot of them.
It's definitely Mark's thing.
Yeah.
I'm on No Mark Loves Naked Gun, right?
Yeah.
And
God damn it.
All like the Leslie Nielsen classics, like it's just not my preferred cup of tea.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty interested.
That it's, for me at least, we can talk about that too. Like before we start, is like what our preferred kinds of comedy are. I tend to like comedy that I don't want to say that I like really gravitate towards like edgy comedy or something like that. It's not quite true. There are tons of movies that aren't like super duper edgy that I find very funny. But I kind of like comedy that does some different stuff, right? Like I'm not a big fan of like the normal poop and fart jokes. You know what I mean?
Dumb and Dumber's not making
fart jokes are funny.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
But I like movies that do different things as well. So that's going to be a constant theme in my list, at least.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Mark. I'm all for just LPMs. Laugh per minute, quotable as hell.
Yep.
And just I mean, basically talking through the movie with someone, just repeating every single line, which can be obnoxious. If you watch one of my top 5 movies with me, you probably aren't enjoying it, and I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I assume that you two have similar tastes, right? Right, Mark?
Yeah. Just looking at my list, the common theme is stupidity of the characters. I am a sucker for just a really dumb like main character or like just second supporting character, and just like there's some movies on here that like we'll get to that some of the funniest jokes are like poop and fart jokes, and there's some movies on here that I think are like a legitimate incredible satire on like different subject matters. And it's like there's a lot of different like styles of movie, but they all have something in common where either the main character or someone who has a prominent role in the movie just does stupid things.
We should do a drinking game where every time one of us mentions poop or fart, we have to take a shot.
I don't want to die.
Yeah, so if I had to take a guess for what I thought the theme of your guys' list, where I would think that you guys would have like similar kinds of movies, but Mark's would generally come from like the late 70s and early 80s.
Very well represented on my list.
Whereas Josh's would come from like the very late 80s and the 90s mostly. That would be my assumption. At least that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Also for Josh creeping into the 2000s as well.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have the biggest range. Actually, no, you guys have like a 40s or whatever, maybe, but like range of like I don't know. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
I've got some newer stuff on my list, but
I got some newer stuff. There's
much.
A 2002 movie. There's
no, I got like there's one from 2017, like late 2000s. Like I've got stuff like that on here.
Yeah, what's your guys' oldest movie and what's your guys' newest movie? Do you know that off the top of your head?
My oldest movie, feature-length movie, is 1964. I gotta, because I do have a TV movie on here. I don't know what year that's from, but my oldest movie is 1964, and my newest is 2017.
Because mine, I just looked mine up. The oldest one for me is 1931.
I think I know which one that is.
If you know, it's obviously going to be a Chaplin film, but if you know Chaplin, you know what movie that is.
Yeah.
And then the newest one for me is also from 2017.
My newest one is 2016, and my oldest one, I want to say, is 1974.
Okay.
So.
Cool. All right. So we're going to get into our... Josh, you have honorable mentions as well?
I do, actually. Yeah, I came up with a couple honorable mentions.
I have... how many do you have?
1, 2, 3, 6. It looks like we all got 6.
I have 6.
I now have 7 because I had to add Naked Gun to my list.
Mark, you and I do our asterisk first.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into the actual... Mark and I both have an honorable mention with an asterisk.
Okay.
The asterisk for both of us is that it's neither of our picks for those ones they're not feature length.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So they're not like feature length movies. But Mark, why don't you go first?
Yeah, mine is 25 minutes long, and the only reason on here is because I think it has the funniest line in television or cinematic history, and it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I Got a Rock is the funniest goddamn thing I've ever heard. Legitimately, every single year when I watch this, I fall on the floor laughing. I got a stick of gum. I got a candy bar. I got a rock. It's so goddamn funny to me. So I had to put it on here because it is legitimately the funniest thing I've ever heard.
I kind of expected Mark's to be a peanut special.
I
Especially when
do
he said
love
it was,
peanuts.
well,
Can I
especially
take a
when you
guess
said
at
it
yours?
was like 20 plus minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Nunez, is yours the Andy Samberg thing?
Yes. So mine, starring Andy
I didn't
Samberg
even
and
think
Kit
about
Harington,
that.
and it's 7 Days in Hell, is one of the funniest things I have ever seen in my life. And it's a shame that it's only 50 minutes long. If you don't know, it's an HBO comedy short about a 7-day long tennis match. Dolph Lundgren's in it. There's dudes banging dudes. It's insane. It's hilarious. I absolutely recommend it. 1000%. 1000%. I haven't seen Tour de Pharmacy, but I have seen 7 Days in Hell, and I absolutely love it.
Wow. Okay. I had a feeling after you said, okay. Yeah, that's sick. I forgot about that. Oof. That is hilarious.
Why don't we get into our honorable mentions? Josh, why don't you give us one of your honorable mentions?
Yeah, I'll give you one. This is, what I meant by I'm getting super inclusive these days. And so I went with an all-female cast, really, from early. And I put up Mean Girls. Going through a couple of lists. It's for what it is in terms of an all-female cast for me, mostly, and stars. It's hilarious. Amy Poehler's character in that movie, when she's like, "What do you guys want? Snacks, martinis, condoms?" Like that. I mean, she is very funny in that movie as a small character. I love the movie. Hit by the Bus, You Go Glen Coco, lines up the wazoo, all good.
I just completely forgot about another movie that probably would be on my list had I done it yesterday, but I'm not going to add it. Okay. I'm sure we'll talk about it later with one of you guys. If we don't, I'll bring it up at the end as a movie I forgot.
Gotcha.
Okay. Mark, why don't you even give us an honorable mention?
I went with This Is Spinal Tap. It is hilarious. I do love that style of movie, like the mockumentary with Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, all those. I think they were Second City guys. Rob Reiner directed this one. Obviously, it is just hilarious. The turn it up to 11 thing. I love the fact that they went on all of the amps and made an 11 dial, and they physically turned the amps up to 11. It's stuff like that. Attention to detail, I think, is great. It's not going to be the only that style of movie on my list. I do have one higher as well.
I agree. I also, speaking of mockumentaries, I watched one earlier today, and it was What We Do in the Shadows.
Very funny movie.
It was very funny. Very funny. The character, I believe it was it Peter, the old Nosferatu vampire, was hilarious to me. That was the funniest shit in the movie.
I'm telling you, Taika only makes hits. I've never seen a Taika Waititi movie that I didn't like.
The very beginning where he's introducing all of the vampires, and he here's Peter's room, and it's the old casket, and he just he opens it, he goes. There's all the bones on the ground, and he's like, are you gonna clean up your room a little bit?
When you sent me the guy in the cage earlier, that's one of my favorite bits from the movie.
They went to this dinner, and they were just raffling off. They called them a meat sack, and it was just a normal guy just standing there in a cage, not even looking concerned or anything. Just standing there so unassuming, just in a cage.
I love it. That's at the bar where you have to get invited in, right? Because of the event. And they're like, yes, please.
Vlad thinks he's the guest of honor, but it's the Beast.
Yeah.
That movie was really funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But I'll go with my first honorable mention here. It's the oldest one on any of our lists, and that's going to be City Lights, Charlie Chaplin film. What was I going to say? Oh, admittedly, it's not like I don't have the Gen Z vendetta against older films like a lot of people do. I genuinely don't. But it takes a special kind of movie, especially a silent film, for example, to be legitimately impressive to me. And the fact that Charlie Chaplin went out of his way to make City Lights a silent film after talkies had already been invented. Similar to how Alfred Hitchcock, when he made Psycho, he refused to make it in Technicolor.
Yeah.
Made it in black and white because he felt that was the true expression of film. Now, Charlie Chaplin was a little more cynical in it. He was convinced that talkies weren't going to stick, that silent films were like still the future of movies. That didn't go very well. But in my opinion, it's the best portrayal of the tramp, his famous character. And Josh, if you're not familiar, it's a movie where this one. Yes, yeah. In City Lights, he meets a blind woman who is down on her luck financially, and he falls in love with her, and he tries to like get her all this money, but he's obviously an idiot and a broke loser. But he befriends a drunk millionaire who only remembers him when he's drunk. So it's one of the earliest examples of a rom-com. It's one of the best examples of early slapstick. Absolutely check out City Lights if you have never seen it.
I did consider Modern Times and The Great Dictator, but
The Great Dictator is probably, other than The Gold Rush, probably his most famous role. It's where he plays Hitler.
Yeah. Yeah. It is very funny.
Yeah. All right. Let's move it on here. We're already 20 minutes in. I'm interested to see how long this episode's going to be.
It's going to be 5 hours.
That's why I'm just kind of debating. Do I just run through all of my honorable mentions quick? Just get them out of the way?
If you want to. Do you have somewhere to be?
No, I got nowhere to be.
I was going to say, because you asked us to do it like a half an hour earlier, and I don't care if you do have somewhere to be. Doesn't bother.
Nothing but time.
Yeah.
No,
nothing but time.
It was just funny because the longest episode we've done, the superhero one, was 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, I think this will top it.
It was longer than the trivia episode by like a minute. Yeah, shout out to the episode where we did 2.5 hours of trivia. But yeah, if you just want to run through the rest of your honorable mentions, we can do that for sure.
Okay, because I don't know if anyone else will really have these movies, so I'll just top them in and get out. Well, actually, I know this one probably you two both will, knowing you guys. My next one I'll go with is Airplane. Didn't crack my top 20, but we've watched it together. We know it all. We'll get to it later. Great movie. Next up was Dirty Work that we've talked about before. Norm Macdonald, Chevy Chase, one of my favorite lines ever. When he's like, he's got a broken arm. Like, what happened? He's like, I bet Mr. He goes, I bet who's Mr. T's character in Rocky?
Clubber Lang.
Clubber Lang. Yeah, he goes, Clubber Lang, he took it fall or whatever. And he's like, what? You bet against Rocky?
I bet this is the movie. Okay, so we'll start the counter here, by the way, of how many movies I haven't seen that you guys mentioned.
Okay.
That's one.
Okay. And this one's kind of a dual honorable mention. Dolomite, both the new one with Eddie Murphy and the original. The original Dolomite is so funny, and it's a shame that nobody's really seen it as much as it has, or much as they have. Just the boom mic falling down, which that's not even supposed to be funny, but like it is funny. Yeah. So I love that.
It's one of the best blaxploitation films ever.
Oh,
for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Staying with Eddie Murphy, Harlem Nights. I put in my honorable mentions.
Haven't seen.
Arsenio. Okay, that's a very funny one.
It is funny, yeah.
And last one for me is I just watched it the other day, and it did hold up significantly. I asked you guys in the chat like 2 weeks ago, should I watch Kicking and Screaming or The Campaign? And dude, The Campaign is hilarious. It had to be in my honorable mentions.
Is it really? I've only seen it once.
Me too.
I have to go back and watch it again.
The two scenes that get me the most are when Zach Galifianakis' family around like the dinner table, and they're all like saying things that they've done wrong, and the little kid's like, "The old man down the street let me touch this old lady's cans" or something like that, and like I licked his balls or something. I'm like, Jesus H. And then the other one is, it's like, you make my boy call you dad, I won't fuck your wife, and I won't put it on TV. And Jason Sudeikis is like, you can't. That's porn. He's like, you're not gonna do. You're fired. Get out of here. And he goes down to the next person. What'd you study in college? You want to be my campaign manager? You gonna put this on TV? No, it's fired. What about you, huh? Sports communication? You're my new campaign manager. I'm gonna put this on TV. It's great, dude. That's my last honorable mention.
Yeah, I remember not loving it, partially because I like Zach Galifianakis quite a bit as a comedian, but at the beginning, like the early part of the 2010s, like he kind of got typecast into a role that I didn't think was good for him. As in the fat idiot.
Yeah.
Like the movie Due Date with him and Robert Downey Jr. That's another that was like very similar, like almost like a slightly funnier version, not really, but a similar thing to what Melissa McCarthy got typecast into in like the mid part of the decade.
Yep.
But anyways.
Yeah, everyone wanted Alan from The Hangover. Like,
yeah. Yeah. And they weren't as good writers as Adam McKay.
No.
It's that simple.
I'll just run through the rest of mine too. These are movies that I almost positive no one else will mention. One of which is Stripes. Stripes is a Bill Murray and Harold Ramis join the army. It's very funny. My favorite line is there's this character, he calls himself Psycho. And he's like, yeah, my name is Francis, but I go by Psycho. And if any of you call me Francis, I'll kill you. And another thing, if any of you touch my stuff, I'll kill you. And one more thing, if any of you homos touch me, I'll kill you. And then immediately you just hear, lighten up, Francis. And he just charges at him. It's a hilarious movie. I just watched it yesterday and I was like, I need to put this on here because it's even funnier than I remember. School of Rock is like the most nostalgic movie for me. I love School of Rock so much. I still laugh every time, and the music's great. I mean, don't get a much better soundtrack than School of Rock.
Jack Black is a national treasure.
I agree. Yeah. And I just realized I forgot about another Jack Black movie that I'm kicking myself over. No.
Damn.
I might have forgotten about Jack Black.
Next, the original Muppet movie, I think, is very funny. I love the Muppets. I've been a fan of the Muppets since I was a kid. The original Muppet movie from 1979 is hilarious. There's this bit with Steve Martin as a waiter, which is absolutely hysterical. And I just love that movie. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Another movie that's just filled with nostalgia for me. Professor Doom was like the scariest thing I had ever seen when I was a kid. Like when the cartoon eyes start bulging out of Christopher Lloyd's face. But outside of that, I love The Baby. I love Bob Hoskins. Just everything about that movie I think is hilarious. And the other one I mentioned along with this is Spinal Tap, is Best in Show. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Best in Show, but it's like
it showed up on a bunch of those lists I was looking at yesterday.
Yeah, it's basically This Is Spinal Tap except about a dog show. It's very funny. Eugene Levy's in it. He's hilarious and everything. I love Eugene Levy.
They said that it actually, like, that mockumentary thing is what started kind of the actual dog show, like, that we see on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it started like the American obsession with dog shows.
Yeah. Like, that's what actually prompted that to happen. Yeah, it's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
But it is a hilarious movie, and I've only seen it twice. I need to go back and rewatch it, but both times I watched it, I was like, yeah, this is very funny.
I had something to say about one of Mark's movies that he mentioned, and I can't actually remember what it was. What were the movies that you talked about?
Stripes, School of Rock, Muppet Movie, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Best in Show.
Oh yeah, no, it was. You're not a Nacho Libre fan?
Oh no,
I love Nacho Libre. It's so fun.
No, I didn't think it was very funny.
Oh,
I'm gonna be honest with you. If I remembered, I probably would have put Nacho Libre in like somewhere on this list because I love that movie so much. The stretchy pants bit is still very funny to me.
Get the corn on my face.
Yes. Or when he goes out on the date and she's like, "What are you wearing?" He goes, "These are my church clothes," and then he goes.
That's right before he gets robbed. Or, yeah.
Yeah, it's right before he gets robbed. What was the Jack Black movie you forgot about, Josh? Was it Shallow Hal?
It was not. I put it on my list, so we'll get to it. Like, it was that important.
Yeah. So these are the rest of my honorable mentions. We've got The Big Sick, which is the newest movie on my list.
Very hard for me to leave off. Hilarious movie.
Great, hilarious movie. Shout out to, it was Ray Romano in that movie, right?
Yeah, it was Ray Romano and Holly Hunter, I want to say. Or was it Helen Hunt?
Maybe Helen Hunt. It was Kamal Nunja. Jesus, I'm going to butcher this guy's name.
Nanjiani.
That's where I stopped it. I was like,
Kamal
Nanjiani.
Nanjiani.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad because that guy is very funny. But I have talked about this before. When we talked about
it's Holly Hunter. Okay, I was right.
The Sandler movies when we did that. Is like, I generally like rom-coms when they're done well, and I like them even more when they're done in like the dramedy fashion, with very like dry, real. I don't like like the nonsensical rom-coms. You know, like everything that Matthew McConaughey did from like 2006 to 2011.
Like My Dead Ex-Wife or something like that. Like,
don't you? How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, dude. It was mad good.
Yeah,
my favorite.
I tend to like rom-coms that play it pretty realistic, like and The Big Sick is funny enough as to where like they made a 9/11 joke in the movie.
It's the best 9/11 joke ever. It's so funny.
Yeah, and as a person who, don't crucify me for this, 9/11 jokes are kind of funny when they're funny. I don't automatically recoil when I hear something that like is like in poor taste or whatever. But even the treatment of a 9/11 joke in that movie is very tactful and very funny. So that's one of them. Another one is another theme on my list that I wish I could have included more, but I haven't seen enough of this kind of like genre is like black comedies, and not see. I did the thing. I didn't even mean to do the thing that we were talking about earlier. Dark comedies is what I'm talking about. We talked about this earlier about the distinction between dark comedies and black comedies. It's a pretty easy. Just think about it for like half a second. Anyways, my next inclusion is In Bruges, directed by Martin McDonagh, with it's Colin Farrell and who the hell?
It's
I was watching
Brendan Gleeson.
Literally
Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson, yeah. I know you just said it. I was in the process of Googling it when you said it, so I didn't quite register. Josh, have you seen that movie?
I've not.
It's a dark comedy about two hitmen who are in Bruges, which is in Belgium, and their job goes wrong, basically.
Oh.
There's one scene in particular, where it's a hilarious scene where it's like the beginning of a shootout, kind of, and Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson are just like talking to each other, like trying to openly plan the way that the shootout is going to go. I'm not kidding you. I was watching that clip last night and laughing my ass off while I came across it on YouTube. It's very funny. Another one of mine is the South Park movie. Longer, uncut, whatever. I don't know. I just wrote South Park long subtitle is what I wrote on my list over here. I didn't wanna, I love South Park. And the fact they managed to make a 90-minute musical. That's one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. It's one of the best musicals I've ever seen. And until 2013 held the record for most uses of the word fuck in a feature film in a movie that was only 90 minutes long. It's honestly impressive. All like the Blame Canada stuff is a great running bit.
I love it.
It's a movie that like stands alone if you have a passing knowledge of what South Park is, or even if you don't. But also it weaves in so many like gags from the show, whether it be Terrence and Phillip or the whole like Satan and Saddam Hussein thing. It's really good. And then my last one is a classic. Love it. One of my favorite movies of all time. But it didn't crack the list because it doesn't quite have like the funny factor. So like it's not like gut bustingly funny to me. It is a comedy. And that's gonna be Beetlejuice. There have been Mark and I have talked about this before ad nauseum, and I hate him for his opinion on this.
I don't like it.
But Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice is one of my favorite characters in movie history. And it was absolutely perfect in that movie. And that movie was Tim Burton on fire. That's all I have to say. That's it for my honorable mentions. So we'll get into the list. Josh, why don't you give us your number 20 pick?
Let's do it. I'm sticking with it. Similar to my first honorable mention, I had to get these comedies not out of the way, but want to preach inclusivity, but also if I'm putting an all women's cast up on there, it's going to come in at 20. Bridesmaids. It shouldn't now. My precursor should not lessen what I'm saying about the movie because the movie is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, as dumb as it sounds, it was probably like the first time that I saw all women just being funny, which is an indictment on maybe me watching something.
No, it's an indictment on Hollywood.
Yeah. Or just they can cast women in funny roles, but hilarious movie. The birth of a star in Melissa McCarthy. Maya Rudolph's great in that movie. So is Wendy three name. She's great. McCloven something. You know what I'm talking about, the blonde. It's an awesome movie. I'm in it. Kristen Wiig, SNL cast. Love them.
Yeah, it's a shame that Kristen Wiig is the funniest member of that movie. I'm not a Melissa McCarthy fan in any respect.
Excuse me, you meant Maya Rudolph. I've always loved Maya Rudolph. I loved her on SNL. I loved her in Bridesmaids.
Yeah.
My number 20 is a Bill Murray banger, and that's Groundhog Day. I rewatched Groundhog Day like a month ago. This movie was much funnier than I remember it being. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, yeah, this movie's funny. When I watched it with like a cynical adult point of view, I was like, this is one of the funniest movies ever made. Just the montage of Bill Murray trying to figure out different ways to kill himself. Like when he's in the bathtub, he puts the toaster in there and it just cuts downstairs to the power cutting in and out, and everyone's like looking around like, what the hell's going on? He does a swan dive off of a bell tower. It's really funny, and talk about a great rom-com. It's like, it really is between him and I can never think of the actress's name. Oh, God damn it. He was in Ready or Not, which is another awesome movie if you haven't seen it. Whatever. The lead actress in Groundhog Day, whose name is escaping me. It's a great rom-com. And it's just, I think it's very funny. And I love when Bill Murray does the I'm just an asshole thing, because he's so good at it.
Well, and we talked about in our action episode the action version of Groundhog's Day in Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes, Edge of Tomorrow.
Very good movie.
And shout out Palm Springs, which is just Groundhog Day with Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti, but it is also very funny.
I heard it was good. I never watched it.
It's very funny. J.K. Simmons has a great recurring role in it as well.
Admittedly, I feel like Andy Samberg is kind of underrated. But I still feel like he's in the box as like the Lonely Island guy.
I've got a Samberg movie on my list.
Oh yeah, I know what Samberg movie you have on your list.
Yeah,
it's not on mine, but we'll get to it. Number 20 for me is Friday.
Okay.
Friday fits a bunch of different roles in terms of movies that I love. I like kind of like slice of life kind of comedies. This movie provides that. I tend to like a stoner comedy here and there. This movie kind of is a weed comedy. I think Ice Cube and Chris Tucker were on fire in this movie. This is another one. It's another recurring theme in my list here is going to be movies with casts with like larger than one person main actor like cast. Like a lot of what comedy hits for me is chemistry between multiple different people. It's very rare for me that a comedy has like one star to it, and that's the movie, you know? And just one of my favorite line deliveries of all time. Also, it's a movie that kind of like recontextualizes what a lot of like mainstream America was thinking about a certain part of the country in terms of South Central LA at the time. Took that like hood movie structure and made it fun. And showed that like not every day in Los Angeles is just dudes getting shot. Like that's not how the real world works. But one of my favorite line deliveries in the history of movies is still Chris Tucker going, "You just got knocked the fuck out." It's one of the funniest things to me. So yeah, Friday is number 20 for me.
All right. I climbing the list here. 19. This is the Jack Black movie that I forgot about. It's not what any of you guys are thinking. I don't even know if you've seen it. Nunez surely hasn't. You talk about chemistry. Him and Jason Biggs were on it on this one. With one of the wackiest cameos in all of cinema. I'll go out there and say Neil Diamond coming in at the end of this one. Mark, you got me with
Fucking saving Silverman.
Oh, I've heard that movie.
It is funny. It is very funny. The coach at the end, when they're driving away, and he goes, "I'd rather go down in a hell of gunfire." Who was? It dives out of the van and slides. I mean, it's very funny. Young Jack Black, young Jason Biggs, and not Sean William Scott. It's the other guy. The guy from yeah, you know who I'm talking about. The other guy who was the Sean William Scott role in all the movies that wasn't Sean William Scott.
I don't know. This was around the time that Sean William Scott was getting all the Sean William Scott roles. So
I know. It was impressive. It was the other guy. But yeah, a very funny movie.
I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick while Mark talks about his next one. My apologies.
Steve Zahn.
Yes, Steve Zahn.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, yeah, Nunez walked away, but my number 19 is Hot Rod.
Good movie. Wow.
Hot Rod is so funny. My dad, like, I showed this list to my dad to get his approval because most of these are movies that my dad showed me. And he was like, "I've never heard of Hot Rod," and all I said was, "Will Arnett has a line delivery. Hey, babe, I'm gonna go get a vitamin water. Should I make a dose?" She's like, "No, I'm good. Maybe I'll grab a couple of dong bags so we can knock boots later." It's so funny.
Dude, it's higher on my list, so we don't have to go through them all right now, but like him going to his happy place, Cool Beans. When Bill Hader's, she's like, "Hey man, can you come take me to the hospital?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, what's wrong?" He goes, "Yeah, I don't know, I was doing something, I got this shard of glass, or I got this shard of metal in my head. Yeah, it's real bad. I'm gonna need you to come take me to the hospital." Bill
Hader is hilarious. Samberg, obviously, but Will Arnett in that movie is just one of my favorite comedic characters. I love him so much.
Will Arnett is the king of showing up as like the steal the scene side character.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
We will be sure to talk about one of his roles later.
There was one I wanted to put on here. Actually, I doubt you guys. I was this close to putting the Lego Batman movie on my list. That's one of the funniest goddamn movies ever. It's so, and I didn't because it's like a kid's comic book movie sort of thing, but it is very funny. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend it.
I just like to correct myself. I was thinking of the wrong person when I was talking about him. I was thinking of Bill Hader.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about Bill Hader later.
Well, I think I mentioned before, I never really saw Hot Rod like when it came out. I kind of just thought it was like the dumb movie with the Lonely Island guy.
Me too.
And then I watched it for the first time with Josh when they were still living at like Lakeside Commons. That movie's hilarious. That movie's really funny.
So funny.
Number 19 for me is another entry into there's a certain group of people that show up on this list quite a bit. And they reign from roughly 2004 to like 2013. And coincidentally, those two movies that bookend that time period are both on my list, but that's beside the point. And that first one for me is 21 Jump Street. Jonah Hill is part of that group of people. Now, there's a bunch of different movies from that time period that show up on this list, but 21 Jump Street is still one of like the most endlessly quotable movies to me.
It's very funny.
There's the scene where he's doing slam poetry. He's like, Cynthia, Jesus died for our Cynthias. Jesus cried, runaway bride. Like that shit is hilarious to me. Or there's the scene where they put together like they've been like mapping out the drug ring that they're trying to take out. And they show it to Ice Cube, who is their like sergeant, and he goes, "Is this autistic?" And Jonah Hill just looks at him and he goes, "Actually, it is artistic, sir. We spent a lot of time putting this one together." Or even Jonah Hill comes up a lot in this one. There's the other scene, the other funny scene to me is where like after he has sex with a girl for the first time, he goes, "We were doing missionary and missionary." The one where I was on top and she was on her back. That shit is hilarious to me. Like I said, it's endlessly quotable. And it's one of those new age comedies that I think is going to stick around with me for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Number 18, this might be low on some people's lists, but just in terms of rewatch for me, I got The Hangover. I got The Hangover at 18. Not even on your list, Mark?
No, because I don't think it's rewatchable at all.
It's not on my list either.
No, wow. I rewatched it once and I was like, yeah, that's still pretty funny. Then I tried to rewatch it a second time. I was like, wow, this was a hell of a lot funnier in 2008. There's still some things that I find like that I laugh at, but for the most part, I don't think it's got good rewatch value at all.
That's fair. That's why it was so low on my list. But I tried and just think of like the first time I saw that, I was like, that movie was so funny. Like
the first
time I almost called him Kim Jong-un. I am a terrible person. The first time
Ken Jeong.
Ken, yes, the first time Dr. Ken jumps out of that fucking trunk, it's so funny to me. So I get it at
18. Number 18 for me is Anchorman. Yeah, I was gonna say it's going to be low for you guys. That's why this list was so hard for me to put together. I love Anchorman. I think it's hysterical. I quote it all the time. Like every single time my dad and I are watching anything that involves something with San Diego. It's it's actually pronounced San Diego, which of course in German means a whale's vagina. Like we say it every time.
Yeah, it's correct.
It's correct. Yes.
Sure.
I think it's Spanish.
We'll talk about this movie.
No. Yeah, we'll talk about it more. But I love all of these movies so much. But just in terms of rewatch, like how often I rewatch it, it's just like I can't put it higher.
Quite frankly, I'm disgusted with you. But number 18 for me, speaking of Will Ferrell, is another Will Ferrell movie. You want to talk about rewatchability? I've seen this movie probably close to 50 times at this point in my life. And that's Step Brothers. Had you asked me like a decade ago to make this list, it'd probably be like top 5. But it was one of those things where I've seen it so many times that I watched it for the first time in probably 5 or 6 years a few months ago. And it was still really funny. It's one of those things where there's a couple more movies on the list where we'll talk about where like recently I watched them for the first time in a while and there were different jokes that I didn't pick up on. Like one of the funniest part about Step Brothers to me now is like when they're trying to ward people away from buying the house and John C. Reilly is dressed up as a Nazi.
Howdy, neighbor.
He's like, yeah. Or no, is it Will Ferrell as the Nazi and then John C. Reilly as the Klansman? Is that what
maybe it is?
Yeah, maybe that's it.
He's like, we got a lot of fertilizer. Do you need some? Yeah,
my favorite.
Really another one that kind of puts it here still is the bloopers. I know it doesn't come in, but the bloopers for Step Brothers are some of the funniest bloopers I've ever seen in my life. In particular, there's the part where they're doing the scene where the two of them are looking at like the Playboys in the treehouse after Adam Scott, who's hilarious in that movie.
My favorite part of the movie is Adam
making
Scott
fun of him or whatever, and he comes up, and they're just sitting there in the treehouse, and the line doesn't even make it into the movie. But Will Ferrell keeps trying to say like a joke about like having to ice your balls. And he goes, have you ever had to ice your balls because you've been doing too much fucking? And him trying to like choke back laughter while he's reading that line is still hilarious to me. So yeah, Step Brothers, a lot of good memories associated with that. Even if I don't go back and watch it too many times right now.
Yeah, Adam Scott is just on the dinner scene with Adam.
Yeah.
Is it time?
Fishing with the cubes.
Yeah, fishing with the cubes.
Go ahead, Joe.
My 17. I'd be surprised, I guess, if this wasn't on Mark's list. My 17 is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
It's not. I think it's very funny, but it's not on my list.
The main line, like again, lines galore is doesn't matter if she comes, stays, lays, or prays as long as my toes are still tapping. Mike Damone is just, I mean, the things you could say is just crazy. The womenizing what went on in this movie. Sean Penn's character is amazing. Spicoli is like one of the best stoners in all of movies. It's hilarious.
Mhm.
His relationship with Mr. Hand. Is it our time, Mr. Spicoli? I mean, it's just all of that. All of it. I love it. Nunez, have you seen Fast Times?
I have not seen Fast Times at Ridgemont
Okay.
High. So the counter's up to 7 now, if anybody was wondering, by the way.
Okay. Gotcha.
I do think it's the best stoner comedy. I just don't love a lot of stoner comedies. I think
like
they're
the
funny.
80s version of Dazed and Confused. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like Dude, Where's My Car is another one that it's like, it's pretty funny, but
Is Dude, Where's My Car actually funny?
I think the tattoo scene is hilarious. What's mine say? Dude, what's mine say? Bro, what's mine say? It's so stupid, but I think and the dog gets drunk, which is really funny. My number 17 is the newest movie on my list from 2017. It's not The Big Sick. That was a very tough cut for me. It's The Death of Stalin.
I haven't seen it.
It's so funny, dude. And so much of the humor just comes from the fact that Jeffrey Tambor and Steve Buscemi and all these guys are just talking in their normal voices. Like, there's no accent work at all. No one even attempts a Russian accent. It's so funny when you hear these guys that are supposed to be Khrushchev and all these high-ranking Russian officials just speaking. It's like, there's something about, and like, when Stalin first dies and they all like go in there and they're just like trying to figure out what to do, and they like pick him up to put him on the bed, and Steve Buscemi like drops him. He's like, "What? I'm weak. I'm not a strong guy." He's a big guy. He's the biggest guy in Russia, both figuratively and literally. Like it's a hilarious movie. What the hell is that?
I was looking. I want to watch. I haven't seen the movie, and I have wanted to see it for a while.
It's on Netflix, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I was looking to see where I could watch it.
I recommend it to everybody. It's so funny.
Number 17 is probably a movie that Mark's gonna hate me for having it this low, and that is Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Boo!
It's another movie that I have a lot of good memories associated with. I actually haven't seen it in probably a decade.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets to 17 out of respect points.
Okay.
Because I've seen it, and I do understand its point in comedy history as well. There's like some minor objectivity in here with some of these choices. It was like respect.
I threw that out the window. I originally tried to go that way, and I said, screw it.
I've never seen it. I know.
Oh, we got one Josh hasn't seen.
Yeah, I mean, I probably should. I don't know why I wouldn't. I just, sometimes that super dry, like, British stuff doesn't always come through with me. But
this one isn't really dry.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Monty Python stuff isn't very, like,
it's very out there. It's very British, but it's very out there and overtly funny. It's not, like, trying to sneak a chuckle out of you. It's laugh out loud funny.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the whole bit with the holy hand grenade and the rabbit is, like, still one of the best scenes in comedy history.
I'll get into it.
All right, Josh, number 16.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I'm a little late now. I got to unlock the phone. It's the whole thing. 16, we're in that Jonah Hill area still for me, or for still. I'm going to lock it up here, Nunez. I'm going Superbad. Maybe, I think it's about right. Superbad, there was a time, like recently, within like 2 years ago, I was just replaying something to fall asleep at night, put on Superbad, like just at a buddy's house. They just had only Amazon, and I was like, "What movies they got?" I was like, "Okay." I already watched Superbad, and I was like, still solid, like very funny. McLovin is like iconic in terms of comedy movies. And yeah, Jonah Hill's character, it's great. It's great. I love them all. Him and Sarah too. Their chemistry you were talking about, an amazing duo.
Yeah, I love Superbad. It's much higher on my list personally.
Same.
And yeah, Michael Cera's the GOAT. I'd just like to point that out there. Like if I had the opportunity, and I guess I kind of did, to put Scott Pilgrim versus the World on here.
You most certainly did have the opportunity.
I guess I did have the opportunity to do that.
I mean,
You made the list.
We all made our own.
Yeah, it's very much a comedy. You know what? I fumbled the bag on that one. All right, because that would legitimately be top 5, probably top 3, if I had considered. I just bought it the other day. I went to this used game store. So there's apparently a game franchise mostly in the South, but there's a couple in Connecticut called Games Exchange. It's like GameStop, but better. Everything in the place was used, and everything in the place was mad cheap. And they had so much stuff, like probably well over 1,000 video games on these walls for a bunch of different consoles. I was gonna buy a copy of Ghost of Tsushima for the PS4. This is a game I've been wanting to play for a while. And it was only $12. And but the problem is that they had already sold the copy. So it was like, you know how GameStop used to be where you walked
in there, but it wasn't.
Yeah. The disc is over in a drawer. They had already sold the game a couple days prior, but the guy who bought it didn't take the case with him.
Oh.
So they forgot to take it off of the display off of the shelf. And I was like, damn, that sucks. But I finally have. I haven't had this before. I finally have a Blu-ray copy of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That was the whole point of that conversation. It was like $5. It was great. Excellent.
My number 16 is the first appearance of Mel Brooks on this list, and that's Young Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein is hilarious for a variety of reasons. Peter Boyle plays Frankenstein's monster, which is an absolutely hilarious thing to consider. The father from Everybody Loves Raymond being Frankenstein's monster. When he goes to show him to the world and stuff, it almost has a King Kong style scene where he's going to display it to a theater. He sings Putting on the Ritz. Very funny. There's a scene where a blind man goes to takes Frankenstein's monster in, and he's serving him soup and stuff, and he's pouring the soup all over his lap because he's blind. That blind man is played by Gene Hackman. It's just the most random people turn up. It's a hysterical movie. I laugh just as hard every time I watch it. There will be more Mel Brooks on this list, but
yeah, that's a movie I definitely haven't seen. So
it's funny. It's all in black and white too, which just adds to the old school style of it, even though it came out in 72.
I've seen clips. I've not seen the whole thing.
Josh, I assume there's another Mel Brooks movie here for you.
That's right.
Yeah. Another Mel Brooks movie I haven't seen, most likely. Yeah. Anyways, number 16 for me is a movie we've actually talked about on this show a couple of times before, and that's Major League.
Oh.
We've gone over this a bunch on our episode about sports movies, and then we did on the main show a thing about baseball movies. Again, it's one of my favorite bits in movies is the bat, Jobu. He goes, "Fuck you, Jobu," himself. That's still one of the funniest things ever in movies to me. So if you want to hear what we have to say about Major League, we got it on other places.
Yep. Yeah, I had a hard time thinking about where those comedies from sports comedies go into. I only took my top 2 and put them in, but nonetheless, 15 for me. We're going back to Mark's type of, I hope it's got to be this movie. When you talked about it earlier with Spinal Tap, you said there's another mockumentary type film coming up.
No, it was Best in Show.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. This is it. This is the 2016 version of Spinal Tap. It's Popstar Never Stop, Never Stopping.
That movie is hilarious.
It is hilarious. It was hard for me to leave it off.
Came out on my 18th birthday. I remember it vividly. Night showing. that was my present. I went there. Like, it was crazy. Loved it. I can sing along with every song on the soundtrack. Hilarious movie. You want to talk about Chris Redd. That's what like introduced me to Chris Redd. I think the movie came out in his first year. He was on the cast of SNL, so I was like, oh, okay, I've heard of this guy. His song where Hunter the Hungry was like, my grandma ma so hot it makes me sick. It makes me want to make out with her and suck on her tit. Like, it's so stupid. I love that movie. Bill Hader again, another great movie.
Bill Hader in that movie is like, great.
Yeah, you ever heard of the 1980 movie Flatliners? I got a thing now. Me and a couple guys just trying to flatline.
He really just wants to flatline the whole time. Yeah,
trying to flatline, dude. So, yeah, Popstar is great. You should watch it. Oh,
great! You should watch it. Yeah, that's a great movie. This won't even be the last documentary we talk about on this list because I have one that has yet to be mentioned that's much higher for me. Number 15 for Mark.
It's Role Models with Paul Rudd and Sean William Scott. I first saw this one when it first came on TBS, probably like 2010. This movie is hysterical. Jane Lynch as like their life coach is so goddamn funny. I got the quotes. Me and the judge have a special relationship. I don't want to get too graphic, but I sucked his dick for drugs.
See, I don't even remember. It's been so long since I've seen that movie that I don't even remember that movie.
You know what I used to have for
joke
breakfast?
That I remember from that movie is when they're taking a piss at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
With all the energy drinks. He's like, your piss smells terrible, or whatever, like this bad smelling pee, whatever it was. It's a movie that I thought was like the shit when I was like 9 years old because it had movies in it.
I still love it.
I have not seen it in forever. I'm sure if I went back and watched it, it would be very funny.
What I used to have for breakfast? Cocaine. You know what I had for lunch? Cocaine. What did you have for dinner? Was it cocaine?
Yes. Okay, I remember that joke too.
Suck it, reindeer games. I'm not Ben Affleck. You white, then you Ben Affleck. You are white. Like
that's an upset from Mark's list for me. I would have never guessed something like that would be on your list.
I love Role Models, dude. It's so fun.
Yeah, Mark doesn't strike me as the fan of like the late 2000s like raunchy comedies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Most of them I don't love. There's just something about that one that I think it's mainly just Jane Lynch, and I love Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd's one of my favorites. So.
Okay, well, speaking of this era of comedy, number 15 for me is the 2013 bookend of this era of comedy. This Is the End.
Yeah.
I don't like to get on my boomer bag very often, but like it's a shame that comedies like this don't really get made anymore. With shit tons of money and shit tons of talent, like you don't really see like these big ensemble comedies anymore. And it's made, I mean, the movie's made even better by the fact that like there's the apocalypse and also they're all playing themselves, but they're playing characters of themselves, like caricatures of themselves. And like I said, it just ends like a really like my favorite era of comedies for like the mid 2000s to like the early to mid 2010s. Danny McBride is like the funniest thing ever in that movie. That one's really good. Michael Cera playing a piece of shit is like the funniest like 2 seconds where he like does coke and slaps Rihanna on the ass before he gets impaled. Like it's just hilarious. And the scene where like what the hell is her name? Give me 1 second while I'm stalling so I can look up this woman's name. Emma Watson, where Emma Watson shows up in the house and like she's convinced that they're all gonna like sexually assault her. The movie's just not even to mention the scene where Jonah Hill gets raped by the devil.
My favorite part of that movie will always be Channing Tatum as the Gimp.
Yeah, Tatum shows up in a Gimp suit.
He's just like, oh, hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm throwing that on right now in the background. I'm
Dude,
putting on this.
It's so funny. It's so funny. And like the whole Backstreet Boys bit is hilarious.
Someone from Barstool, it was Chris Costanza the other day wrote a blog about Castellani wrote a blog about how like this is his favorite comedy of all time and he wishes it could be his first time rewatching it again because of how funny it was that first time. Which I totally get with certain comedies. Like the first time you hear these jokes, it's like unmatched.
And that like the part of it is because of the amount of people that they're in and the role that they're playing. Like again, they're all playing themselves. Like for me, there's something special about this at the end. It was like this one like 100-minute piece of like harnessed, just like comedy energy that like you very rarely see in movies.
Yeah, my 14 here. This is the Mel Brooks show here. What do you call it? We're going with Blazing Saddles. I'm sure it'll be on Mark's list. I'd guess. No, yeah. I mean, it's really funny. I mean, talk about. I don't know. It's always the tricky thing where like you hear stuff about Mel Brooks like negatively, and you're like, no, but that's the bit. Like that's the whole thing. And like, it's just I don't know. I feel like you got to get it, but also it's not so hard to get. Like the part of them calling him in as the mayor, like, oh, the mayor is coming. He's what? I mean that part's hilarious. The relationship that him and Wilder have on camera is awesome. The fat guy, the mean guy. What's the big fatty with the beans? Yes.
Mongo?
Yeah, they call him Mongo. Yeah, Mongo. Yeah. They call him Mongo.
Yeah.
I mean, and then the ending is just like mayhem. The last 10 minutes of that movie is wild.
Just wild.
No other way to describe it than just craziness. So, yeah, I like Blazing Saddles. I could rewatch that anytime.
Yeah, it's very good. My number was it 15?
Yeah,
14.
14. Sorry.
It is 14. My bad.
Yeah. Is The Jerk?
Yeah.
I doubt. Have either of you seen it?
I have not. I've heard of it. I've heard lines from it. My dad likes that movie.
Yeah, it holds like a somewhat special place in my heart just because of my dad. So it's Steve Martin, and he plays a guy who was raised by like a very poor black family. And at one point in the movie, he says, "I was born a poor black child in southern Mississippi," and that's how my dad introduced himself to his future father-in-law. My mom's dad said, "So Roger, tell me about yourself." He goes, "Well, sir, I was born a poor black child in southern Mississippi." And like I've always found that to be very funny. But like Jackie Mason's great in this movie. There's this one point where a sniper is trying to kill Steve Martin while he's at a gas station. And so he keeps hitting like these cans of oil because he's missing. And Steve Martin just yells, "He hates these cans. Stay away from the cans." It's like, again, it's a stupid main character. It's stupid humor, but I've always thought it was really funny. And it's really earnest too. Like it's just a really good movie along with this fact that it's very funny. And it was directed by Carl Reiner, so that's cool.
Yeah. So the next three on my list are like what I call the last gasp of the classics section here before we just get into full blown chaos in the top 10 or so. And number 14 for me is Dumb and Dumber. Partially in the respect mold, but also partially because in my opinion, it's Jim Carrey's best comedic role still. I love The Mask. I love Ace Ventura, but Dumb and Dumber takes the cake for me. And shout out to Jeff Daniels, partially because the man is a great actor.
Don't you say it. And don't you say
he's
it.
Great on Broadway. Have you seen? I don't know if you've seen him in his role as Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird on Broadway. But he's also great in one of my favorite TV shows of all time, The Newsroom.
P.U.
You know what's really funny about The Newsroom, Mark? A clip from it came up on Twitter the other day. It was the clip from the episode where they like the whole Bin Laden thing, and like the dumb stupid speech that one guy gives on the plane.
Yeah.
In that episode, and I watched it, and I was like, yeah, that shit sucks. And it's not like I still really love the show. That episode in particular and that moment in particular is bad. It's very bad.
The thing that bothers me most about the newsroom is the opening scene of the show is the most riveting scene in the show.
That's not true. Not true.
Is that the big trailer that everyone's seen where he's like, America, what's so great about America?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the best scene in the show, and it's the first scene of the show.
48th and blowing cock.
Yeah. I will say though, second season was kind of boo boo. I thought the third season was better, but that's beside the point. Josh, what's number 13 for you?
13 for me is definitely on Nunez's list, probably on Mark's list too, but it's going to be a one that I watched later on in life, The Big Lebowski. So I've seen it.
I didn't put it on.
No, wow. Okay.
No, I love it, but it's another one for me. I don't consider it so much laugh out loud funny as I do like it. It is a very funny, very good movie, but in terms of just pure comedies, I was like, I'm not gonna put this one on.
I could have filled a lot of this list with more Coen Brothers movies. Let's just put it that way.
I could have as well. Yeah.
Yeah, John Goodman just totally steals it for me. Anytime he's screaming about Nam, I mean, it's what laugh out. That kills me every time. Even in the coffee place after they all left, and he's just randomly spazzes out again. Like, dude, I knew you can talk about it later. But yeah, it's great. Love Lebowski.
My number 13 is Blazing Saddles. Josh mentioned it. My favorite bit is when Mongo punches the horse. He just walks up to a horse and punches it in the face. The like when they're all signing up to join the angry mob, and you've got the Klansman where it says "Have a nice day" with the smiley face on the back, to get their attention. Hey, where are all the white women at? Like it's it is incredible. Like you said, Gene Wilder as the Waco Kid is just so funny. Everything about that movie holds up. It's still hilarious. There was a rumor they were going to do like an animated remake, like for kids, and I was like, this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, I don't think kids need to just hear slurs being tossed left and right. That's not cool.
It is. It's incredible, and I actually just moved it ahead of The Jerk when you mentioned it. I was like, I love The Jerk, but Blazing Saddles is better.
Number 13 for me is a movie we'll certainly talk about later, so I won't belabor it. We'll just pass it to Josh. Number 13 for me is Caddyshack.
Yep, that's a good passing of the torch there. So we're on to 12 now. I think Mark has this one. 12 for me is a National Lampoon's variety as well. It's Animal House.
I also have it, yes.
Mr. Blutarski. 0.00.
Just his facial expression after his, yeah.
Another classic comedy I have not seen.
Animal House is very good. Just Belushi at some of his best. Hey, what am I? A zit. I mean, just the dumbest of dumb. Toga parties. It really, honestly, is one of the movies that ruined my college experience, probably, because I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna like show up and just start fucking going wild. That's just what you do. And then I got there and I watched Step Brothers on Comedy Central the entire first semester every night. I was like, toga. So yeah,
just a crisp Bud Light in your hand.
Oh yeah.
My number 12. I could have put more Coen Brothers on this list, but I didn't. It's Fargo. I think Fargo is the funniest Coen Brothers movie. Frances McDormand as a 9 months pregnant police officer who's investigating a multiple homicide case. Just the premise in and of itself is very funny. But then when you mix it with Minnesota, North Dakotan accents, and just the ridiculousness of how often they just say, "Oh, geez, yeah, that's no good." It like the writing is superb, and everything about this movie is just hilarious. Steve Buscemi, when he like gets shot in the face and he's just like, fuck, man, he shot me in the face. Like he's not even overreacting to it. It's mainly like, fuck, that hurts, but I can see why. Like I love Fargo. It's my favorite Coen Brothers movie. I needed to put it on here.
All right. Well, you know what's funny? Speaking of the Coen Brothers, I'm very excited for Joel Coen's next movie that's coming out soon.
Is that the is that like the Macbeth one?
Yes, it is the Tragedy of Macbeth, starring Frances McDormand as Lady Macbeth, but also Denzel Washington as Macbeth himself.
Denzel, I almost said Idris Elba. I couldn't remember if it was Elba or Denzel, but yeah, okay.
Sure. It is. I've seen the trailer a couple times at this point, but it is an A24 film, which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming out on Apple TV Plus, which is also fun on Christmas Day. But I'll make my best effort to go see it in the theater. But it's being told from like a dark fantasy perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like necessarily. It's more like a mythical portrayal of Macbeth rather than like a more stereotypical Shakespearean portrayal. So it looks excellent. It really does look excellent.
I haven't seen the trailer. Does it look funny? Like, is it going to be a comedy or no? It isn't. Okay.
It does not look funny at all.
Yeah, I just haven't seen the trailer. I didn't know if it was going to be like a true dramatic like Macbeth or more of a nonsensical one. But okay, that makes me even more excited for it, quite frankly.
Number 12 for me is arguably. It's one of the best movies on this entire list. Did I say 23?
No. What?
Did I say number 12?
Yeah, you said 12.
Okay,
sorry. 11.
Number 12 for me is arguably the best movie on this entire list, if not one of the best movies on this entire list. But the reason it's not up higher, it doesn't have that like constant laugh out loud factor, but it does have one of my favorite jokes of all time, and that's Ghostbusters. Is number 12 for me. My favorite joke in the movie is still when they're in the boardroom trying to decide what they're doing, and Bill Murray just goes, we can't leave it up to Dickless over here. And I forgot who it is in the room, but they just asked him. He goes, "Is that true?" And he goes, or because they were talking about, they were like trying to implicate the other guy and whatever. I can't remember the specifics. And he goes, "Is that true?" And Bill Murray just goes, "Yes, it is true. That man has no penis." And it's one of my favorite jokes in movie history. But yeah, Ghostbusters, number 12.
Shit. My 11, we've seen him before on this list, the lead guy. It was in the top 10, and then I remembered a movie, and so it got moved out. American Pie. Arguably could have been American Pie 2 instead of American Pie. I like the second one.
Booby comedy of them all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I instantly think of, honestly, American Pie's soundtrack is amazing. That's like right up my alley in terms of music. Blink 182, the Bare Naked Ladies rocking out. Like the 1 week, anytime I hear 1 week, I think of American Pie. That's the movie I match it up with. Just a crazy Stifler's mom, flute in the vagina, Nadia, all of it. And Eugene Levy is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious throughout the entire franchise. Even in the garbage movies, Eugene Levy is constantly funny. So yeah, that's my number 11.
My number 11, it is Naked Gun. I had to put it all the way up here because I forgot it. Naked Gun is so goddamn funny. Even O.J. Simpson is funny. You know how hard it is for me to say that?
Very hard.
O.J. Simpson's very funny in that movie in a very limited role. The dumb slapstick humor is great. Like when Ricardo Montalban gets pushed out of like Dodger Stadium and onto the road, and then he gets run over by a bus, a steamroller, the Stanford marching band. George Kennedy comes over and starts crying, and Leslie Nielsen like consoles him. He's like, "It'll be okay." He goes, "No, it's awful, Frank. My father went the same way." It's ridiculous, but God, it is funny. I laugh just as hard every single time. This, like I said, just stupid humor. Like when Priscilla Presley is getting something out of the ceiling, and Frank Drebin goes, "Nice beaver," as he's looking up her skirt, and she goes, "Thanks, I just got it stuffed," and then hands him a taxidermy beaver. Shit like that is just funny to me.
Yeah, that's like the classic, like I said, like screwball slapstick joke that lands with a lot of people.
I love it.
I don't want to spend the whole time shitting on it. But number 11 for me is another mockumentary that we have yet to mention. And that is, give me 1 second. So I want to pull something up here. That movie is titled Borat, Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan. I wanted to pull up the subtitle. Borat is a movie that I didn't see until probably right before I got to college. And I know Josh didn't see it until I got to college, because the first time he saw it was when I bought a bootleg copy of it that I was absolutely convinced was going to be like some sort of like snuff porn.
This might not even be the real thing. It's, don't get your hopes up. I'm like, no, this would be great.
Borat it's one of those, it's a rare movie. Like, it exists so much on like shock value. But even then, like, the shocking bits are still really funny to me. But also, like, Josh referenced one of the jokes earlier. Like, you go through all this, like, so much shock, but you don't quite recognize like the comedic timing of the scene where he's in like joke training. And he's trying to teach him like the knot jokes, and he goes, "That suit is black knot." Or then he's like, "That suit is black."
Pause.
No, you're not supposed to, you don't say the pause. You just do the pause.
Nah.
That suit is black. And then the guy just starts talking, and in the middle of the sentence he goes, "Not!" Or even that, like, when he's in the hotel room and the guy comes up and delivers the telegram to tell him his wife is dead, and he goes, "You're telling me my wife is dead? High five!"
Borat's my 10. So, like, we can roll right into it. It's fantastic. The first watch of Borat might be the funniest thing I've ever watched. It's like Man on the Street taken to cinema in the best of possible ways. So it's great.
Yeah.
I think I saw Borat too young.
Mm.
I saw Borat when I was like 12, and it was very funny, and I really enjoyed it. But going back and watching it, I was like, do I really think this is that funny, or was I just a kid? Like, it is funny, and I thought about putting it on this list just for the first time I watched it, but it just, I don't know, I don't connect with it as much as I did when I was younger.
Well, and I think it's funny because I have basically the opposite feeling of it. We're like seeing it for the first time as an 18-year-old who like understood the things surrounding the movie. Like, the movie's a lot smarter than I would have expected it to be.
Mm.
Yeah.
Basically. Whereas, like, if you watch it for the first time as a 12-year-old, you're like, haha, dick and balls. Like, that's really funny.
Yeah.
You know?
It was like shit like that. And
still, one of the funniest parts in the movie is when they're doing the naked fight in the hotel room, and then Borat gets up and his dong is censored, but the censor bar like covers like half the screen. Like, that's easy. It's still one of the funniest parts of the movie. Like, editing choices like that are hilarious to me.
Number 10 for me is the oldest movie on the list, from 1964. And also has a very long subtitle. It's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
I was so hoping you had this on your list because I've seen it on like every one of those lists. I'm like, what the hell is this?
You've never heard of it before?
No, I've never even heard of it.
It's Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, okay. Stanley Kubrick directed it, and Peter Sellers plays, I don't know, 9 characters. It's absolutely hysterical. If you've ever seen anything parody, like someone, like the guy riding on the bomb, like it's a bull and he's waving his hat in the air, that's Dr. Strangelove. That's the ending of Dr. Strangelove, is Slim Pickens straddling a nuclear bomb as it's falling out of the air, riding it like a bull.
One of the best lines in that movie still was, guys, you can't be fighting in here. This is the war room.
This is the war room.
Yeah.
It's peak 1960s, like, weird comedy mixed with Stanley Kubrick's incredible direction. It really is such a funny movie. And another great one is the character of Dr. Strangelove. He, at one point, it's the very end, it's his last lines. He goes, "I have a plan." And he's been in a wheelchair the entire movie, and he stands up to say the plan. He says, "Mein Führer, I can walk." It's you never see him out of the wheelchair. It's, oh my god, it's so funny. And like I said, combine it with Stanley Kubrick directing the movie, it doesn't get much better.
Number 10 for me is the beginning of that time period that I talked about. We've referenced this time period. And it starts with the directorial debut of Judd Apatow. And that is The 40-Year-Old Virgin is number 10 for me. It's very funny to me, partially because it's partially autobiographical. I had to get that joke in. I don't talk to women. That's funny. But even then, we've talked about the bit at the bit with the TV, like a trillion times on this show.
The Michael McDonald bit is easily the best part of that movie.
The Michael McDonald bit with the TV. And that was Paul Rudd, right?
That was Paul Rudd.
Like, I'll just give you the fucking TV.
The best. I like the line when they're trying to convince me to go into the bookstore and hit up that one girl. He's like, "You just got to ask girls all these questions, you know? Just like, watch this. She'd be like, "So, what kind of books do you like?" She'd be like, "I don't know, like I mostly like action." He's like, "What kind of adventure books do you like?" He just keeps repeating everything she's saying in a question, like, very funny stuff. The puke scene all over the car.
For me, it boils down to, I don't love Steve Carell as a leading man.
Boo.
I think he's funny, but I like him more in a supporting role, where like Brick and Anchorman or something like that.
Is that? It's
Oh,
the
trust
birth
me, we'll
of
get
Kat
to
Dennings.
Brick and Anchorman.
It's the birth of Kat Dennings, right? In 40-Year-Old Virgin, she's the daughter.
Is she?
I think so. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good for her.
It's been a while since I've seen the entire movie, but I go back and watch the Michael McDonald thing like once a month. I do think that's genuinely hilarious.
Yeah.
My 9, we can, like you said earlier, sports movie. Last minute decision to add it in just because, like, I had to. Happy Gilmore is my 9. Yeah, I don't know what else you want me to say about it. We've talked about it a lot. It's very funny. It's on my sports movies and my Sandler movies. I mean, this thing's been eaten up on this program.
Yeah.
So
it was number 1 on both my sports movies and Sandler movies list. So
yeah. It'll be there.
My number 9 is Superbad.
Okay.
Just endlessly rewatchable. So goddamn funny. Bill Hader and Seth Rogen stealing the show. I've noticed Nunez hasn't mentioned it yet, so we'll move on and save that for Nunez. But
no, that wasn't even the Bill Hader side character I was thinking of.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a different Bill Hader side character that I was mentioning. So you can keep talking about Superbad.
Do you not have Superbad?
No, I do. We can just keep talking about it now.
Yeah, Bill Hader and Seth Rogen as the cops might be the funniest side characters in any of these movies. The Panama
scene in that, when Panama's playing in the background, they're just driving around doing donuts, shooting bottles off.
Yep.
Love it.
That in the bar scene, I've always loved.
You got him, McLovin.
Come on. Just, oh my god. They're just with this underage kid at the bar.
He's like, "Guys, I gotta tell you something. I'm not 21." He goes, "Oh yeah, we've known the whole time. Yeah, totally. Yeah, of course. We just want to hang out and have some fun, man."
Yeah, but Superbad's great. Also, Emma Stone,
that was Emma Stone's first big role.
Yeah, and she's one of my favorite actresses. Period. But I love her in Superbad.
She's feisty.
Number 9 for me is a movie that has gotten so much better with age. I watched it for the first time in forever, like a few months ago, and picked up on so many more jokes that I didn't notice when I watched it for the first time when I was like 7. And that's Dodgeball. Dodgeball is number 9 for me. Josh forgot about Dodgeball.
How the fuck did I forget about Dodgeball?
Very tough
Dodgeball
cut.
was the one that I forgot about and added at the very beginning of the episode.
It needs to be added.
Yeah.
Oh,
So Dodgeball, if you're not gonna add it to your list, you can obviously talk about it right now.
yeah.
My favorite joke in the movie now is one I didn't pick up on until I watched it recently. Is at the very beginning of the tournament when they're doing the TV intro, and Cotton goes, he goes, this is a sporting event that's better than the World Series, the World Cup, and World War II combined. Yeah, it was a joke that I didn't, like I said, didn't really catch originally, but is hilarious to me now. And also, Rip Torn as Patches O'Houlihan
Incredible.
is one of the best,
I often
characters ever.
I often find myself when like shocked or walking into someplace going, "Sweet Barbara." Like that is a very, very quotable but like tiny moment.
Even Hank Azaria is young Patches O'Houlihan in the educational video.
Dude, that instructional video was another one that I didn't pick up on. When they go through the history of Dodgeball and they like flash back in time. Heads. And he goes, "Where am I?" And the narrator just goes, "You're in an old Chinese opium den, Timmy." He goes, "The Chinamen used to play this game by throwing severed heads at one another."
What's that big testosterone cheerleader's name? Damn it, Clarice. What's her name? Damn it, Maury. I don't know. Very funny.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But Ben Stiller is also elite in that movie as White Goodman. Mm-hmm. Like the scene where he's like the scene where he's trying to fuck the piece of pizza because he can't eat it. That that one's really funny. Or the fact that like when who's the woman, the love interest in that movie?
The blonde
Christine Taylor,
yeah. Where she comes in to talk to White for the first time, and he like pumps the little pump into his crotch and like pumps up his bulge. She's like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Oh, that's just a painting.
Me riding a bull.
It's me grabbing the bull by the horns, just like you grab life by the horns."
You get
it. Steve the Pirate. Alan Tudyk is Steve the Pirate.
Who? What do you mean? There's a guy on our team who's a pirate? Yeah, Scurvy Steve the Pirate.
Steve the Pirate, he's doing the yar. He's got the pirate, and he's like, I don't know. Steve the Pirate.
At the end, he's like, well, that's terrible to hear, Peter, or Steve, because who am I going to share all this treasure with? Yarg.
Yeah. The movie's a lot funnier than I even remember it being. Now that I've gone back and rewatched it recently.
I was about Lance Armstrong's cameo to be like, yeah, I thought about giving up too when I had brain, lung, and testicular cancer all at the same time. It's not a great reason. I'm sure.
Yeah.
For days. That is a great movie, and it's a shame that I forgot about it. My number 8, this Will Ferrell genre. The Legend of Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights. It is not the best movie of all time. It's not whatever. It is just super friggin' funny. And from getting splopped out of a friggin' mom's cooter going 95 on the highway to I want to go fast as a child to Wonder Crown. I got to go take a shit. Yeah, somebody can drive. It's the middle of a NASCAR race. I go, yeah, I don't care. I'm getting a chicken sandwich. You can go. I mean, instantly hilarious. The outtakes of him doing the commercials too. Big Red. You don't choose Big Red? Then fuck you.
My favorite scene in that movie is the scene where he's convinced himself that he's paralyzed. And he just stabs himself.
What's the pit chief's name who's in Green Mile?
Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah, him and you're not paralyzed, Ricky. You can walk. And he's like, no, Doc. Get up, Ricky. Get up. No, he needs this. He needs tough love right now. You can walk, man. He's like, I can't. Ah! Just awesome. Chip, Spider Monkey Chip. Fantastic movies.
Shout out to Sacha Baron Cohen is that in that one as well.
Yeah, the French driver of the Perrier car.
Break it, Pepe Le Pew.
He was driving a Perrier car.
Yeah.
The little bit of the hesitation right before he's doing it where Johnson Riley's like, I actually like Flapjack. I like him. Like their crepes are kind of cool, man. Like, I had a couple today.
Like I actually like Flapjack.
Yeah, he's like, wait, before we do this, he's like, crepes are kind of good. I had a couple this morning. They're really good. You just say it. What if he just says he likes crepes? Is that good? He's like,
what if he's like, you just say you like really, really thin pancakes.
That's what it is. No.
Number 8 for me is Fat, Drunk, and Stupid is no way to go through life, son. It's Animal House. Just that line, the Kevin Bacon role is the crazy military, like ROTC guy. Fucking, they shoot the horse in the dean's office. It's like, yeah, it's got blanks in it. It's fine. He kills the horse. We want to dance with your dates. Yeah. Go ahead. Go right ahead. It's
Big Otis. Big Otis and the Boys is or Big Otis and the Knights or whatever the hell.
Yeah, it's
Great.
No, it's Otis Day and the Knights.
That's
Otis, my man.
Otis.
What can so many endless quotes. Just love Animal House.
Yeah, number 8 for me is a movie that I assume is higher for Mark. But I'll just talk about my favorite bit from the movie. That's Airplane. And my favorite joke from the movies, we talked about this one before, is the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar bit. You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. No, I'm not, son.
I'm Roger Murdoch, co-pilot of this airplane.
Yeah, isn't it the bit where he goes, my dad says you suck and you're lazy on the court?
Yeah.
The hell I am. You tell your pop to try dragging Bill Walton up and down the court for 48 minutes.
Yeah, it's Airplane. Classic. It's like the slapstick comedy.
Mm-hmm.
The hell am I supposed to say that hasn't already been said about it?
Yeah. Josh?
I already. Oh, did you
Number
say
7.
Airplane too? Oh yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, you're next.
My bad. Take it easy, man. 7. I doubt it's on either of your guys' list. It's a Will Ferrell kind of side role. Old School. Old
It
School
was
is
the
very
last
funny.
one to be cut from my list.
okay. Old School to me is very funny. Similarly, like just starts right off at the beginning where he's like, the seatbelt doesn't work. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, faggot. And I'm like, what? Like from the very first minute of the movie, dropping an F-bomb. He comes home, gangbang going on upstairs. Wild movie. I think what my friend here is trying to say is that love is blind. Love is blind. Love is everywhere. We have Frank's dad in the house. Big Frank. How you doing, Big Papa? On the baby. Always watching. Snoop the Loop. Frank the Tank. They pick up Frank going streaking. Just amazing stuff. You're my boy Blue. Awesome combination of Vince Vaughn and Will Ferrell that makes baby in my brain.
Also, Sean William Scott in that movie.
Yeah. There's jars in your neck.
Yes! That's all, son.
Yet he starts kissing him. He's kicks him back into the phone. He's giving him mouth to mouth. Oh, Nikes, man. That's good stuff.
People forget that guy made Joker. Todd Phillips, director of Old School. Number 7 for me is one I know you guys won't have. It's Monty Python's The Life of Brian. It's the one about the guy who was born on the same day as Jesus, but everyone thinks he's Jesus, but he's not. It's so goddamn funny. It's from the 3 wise men showing up at the very beginning, like bearing gifts, and they're like, "Ah, yes, it is our savior. What's his name? Brian. Brian. Okay. We'll take." And they leave, and then they find the manger, and they just come back in and take all the gifts and leave. It's like shit like that. It's very good satire on Catholicism as a whole, and Catholics hated it. I love it. Oh my god, I think it's hysterical. And of course, ending with the eternal song, "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life," which includes the line, "Life's a piece of shit when you look at it." But it's just an incredible movie.
Yeah, I assume Josh hasn't seen it. I personally haven't seen it. So
yeah,
there you go. Number 7 for me is a movie we've already talked about, the both of you, is Superbad. And one of my favorite quotes from that movie is still when he first shows him his ID, and he goes, "It was either that or Muhammad." He goes, "Why the fuck would it be Muhammad?"
It's the most popular
name in the world. You chose a dumb, stupid fucking fairy tale name.
And now we're fucked.
Yeah, it's one of those movies too that's like very relatable to like the loser high school experience. Of like, I don't know, you're a loser in high school. You know what you want to do? You want to sit around and jerk off, and like, but then you also have the you want to get the girl, and you want to like be the cool guy, but like things fuck up and you have a McLovin, and it's hard to be the cool guy when you're Jonah Hill and Michael Cera, and then you have the McLovin. Yeah, it's a great movie.
All right.
Yeah.
Good stuff. We're on to 6 now, eh?
Yep.
My number 6, Nunez mentioned it earlier. I think Mark's gonna get to it. Caddyshack is my 6.
Yep.
So I'll hold off.
My number 6 is The Blues Brothers. Fucking incredible movie. Talk about, again, music doesn't get much better in a movie than The Blues Brothers, but there's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, a half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Like, just shit like that. I love it so. The Carrie Fisher just constantly trying to kill John Belushi, and you don't find out why until the very end of the movie. Great play on Ray Charles just being blind, where they're trying to steal all the stuff from his store. He just shoots a shotgun, or no, he's got like a Magnum. He shoots a Magnum at him, and like gets close. It's incredible. I watch Blues Brothers like, I don't know, every 6 months or so. Just love that movie.
So it hasn't been mentioned yet, and I don't know if it's going to be on your guys' list, but number 6 for me, excuse me. Number 6 for me is that Bill Hader side character, and in Tropic Thunder.
That's the Jack Black movie. I forgot. When we were talking about Jack Black earlier, and I was like, oh shit, that's the one. It should be on my list.
Yeah, I mean, that again, that's a movie that's improved with age for me. When I saw it, I don't even know when I saw it. It was probably 12, maybe, the first time I saw it.
Yeah,
I've seen it a bunch of times, but now watching it as an older person and understanding like the thick layers of satire that are in the movie, including the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is just playing Russell Crowe in the movie. Yeah, that movie's, like I said, it's aged really well. One of my favorite like side characters in the. I mean, like everybody in the movie is really like Matthew McConaughey is really good as Ben Stiller's agent. Steve Coogan is funny in the movie as the director. Bill Hader is funny as like his Tom Cruise's like sidekick almost.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, Tom Cruise in that movie is unreal. The amount of prosthetics that they put on this man.
His forearms are this big.
Dude, his arms and his hands are like cartoon levels big.
It looks
It's
like
so
Popeye.
fucking funny. It's so funny. And also Nick Nolte in the movie. Like when they get captured and he's like, I didn't actually go to war. And Danny McBride's yelling at him. He's like, what the fuck? I looked up to you my entire life. Yeah. There's Danny McBride even in the movie. He's like, I got 17,000 tons of shit your pants ready to blow up. The very beginning where they're on the set and they're trying to shoot the crying scene while Danny McBride Danny McBride's ready to blow up the entire forest.
Yeah, the fake trailers always get me.
Oh, the one with Robert Downey Jr. and Tobey Maguire?
Yeah, MTV Best Kiss Award winner Tobey Maguire. 7-time Academy Award.
Kirk Lazarus. MTV Award Best Kiss Award. Tobey Maguire. And they're like, it's very clear, like it's like the problem guy who's been terrible to work with, so now he's gonna be in like an art house, like gay priest movie. It's so funny. And even then, like, shout out to Brandon T. Jackson for existing.
Oh,
and the whole bit with the booty sweat, and bust a nut
part.
Yeah, that movie's so funny. It's so funny. And like I said, it's gotten a lot better since I've rewatched it recently.
I should have put it on my list. Oh man,
I'm getting to 5 now.
What's it? Yeah, top 5. This is a big time. What's that?
I didn't say anything.
Nope.
Oh, okay. My top 5 is number 5 goes to Step Brothers. We talked about it earlier. Yeah, I mean, freshman year of college, that movie just was on. I think that was like Comedy Central just owned the syndicated rights there during that time frame, and like every Friday and Wednesday it was on, and I just had nothing better to do. So, love Step Brothers, Boats and Hoes. Anna Gasteyer in that movie too, just constantly trying to aggressively fuck John C. Reilly at any time is great. It is great. Only 80s Joel too at the end, even like the last ratio is like, all right, give me some Rex. What do you want to hear? He goes, "We're not doing Uptown Girl. Only the fucking 80s." Just great.
My number 5 is a movie I know neither of you have seen, and this is a very nostalgic one for me. It's The Return of the Pink Panther, which is one of the sequels to the Peter Sellers Pink Panther movies.
I saw it on the lists. I have not seen
it came out in 1975, I think. I think Peter Sellers is hilarious, but this is easily the best Pink Panther movie. There's so much ridiculous shit in this. You know, he's just playing a stupid cop. But like at the very beginning, there's a bank robbery, and there's a guy outside who's the lookout, and he's pretending to be blind. And so, he's got like this little monkey and an organ grinder and stuff, and he's pretending to be a blind homeless guy begging for change. And Clouseau goes up and asks him if he like has a permit, and there's this entire bit. He calls a monkey a minky. He doesn't know how to pronounce anything. And he goes back to the station, and the chief inspector is like giving it to him. He's like, the blind man was the lookout. Say he was blind. I don't know how a blind man can be an effective lookout. And they just have this argument about the blind guy for like 5 minutes. It's hysterical. Christopher Plummer's in it as the I can't think of his character's name. The Phantom. He's like this notorious thief, and he plays Charles Litton, the Phantom, and it's just incredibly funny. Once again, a lot of slapstick, a lot of stupid humor, but that's the shit I love. So
Josh, I forgot to mention one of my favorite jokes from Step Brothers, by the way, is when they're planning the Catalina wine mixer, and Adam Scott goes, "If you fuck this up," and he points to Rob Riggle, and he goes, "He will eat your dick." And Will Rose goes, "You've seen him eat a man's penis?" And he goes, "Like Kobayashi." Ah. Yeah. Funny movie. Funny bit.
Oh.
Number 5 for me. This is where the lines of comedy start to blur in my list. This is when I talked about how I had to add more movies to the list once I thought about the fact that like other kinds of comedies exist. This is one of them. As we have talked about ad nauseum, I'm sure. And that's Shaun of the Dead. Edgar Wright is one of my favorite directors of all time. And Shaun of the Dead is my favorite film of his. I can just point to the scene where they're arguing in what's-her-face's apartment. Now I can't remember the movies. And Dillhole, dude with the glasses, is just like starting to really get on Simon Pegg's character. And he just looks at him and goes, "Get fucked, Four Eyes!" It's just like those random outbursts. And it's another movie that every single time I hear "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen, I can only think of the scene where they're in the bar and jukebox is going, and all of their like hits on all the zombies are synchronized to the song. It's excellent, and it's not one of those movies that's like super like laugh out loud funny, but it's genuinely one of my favorite movies of all time. And seeing as how it's a comedy, I couldn't really keep it off of this list.
Yeah, I have not seen it. I've watched a clip from it, but that's about it. I've heard great things. I love the main dude, not actual Sean guy, the fat guy.
Nick Frost.
Yes, he's in. You guys seen Sick Note on Netflix?
No.
Very funny. Very funny. He pretends he's a doctor, and he accidentally tells Ron Weasley. I don't care for his actual name. He accidentally tells Ron Weasley that he has cancer. But it turns out he didn't have cancer, and he was like, "Oh, my bad." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "I'm gonna sue you for everything." He's like, "No." And he like blackmails him. It's very funny. Fourth on my list, probably not on anyone else's. It's a Vince Vaughn, Wedding Crashers. Wedding Crashers is great. I love Wedding Crashers. Rewatch it on a dime. It is a rom-com. It's definitely a rom-com. So it's got to be up there for me in terms of that too. I don't know. I could go on forever. The motorboating. She's still in the house. We got a stage 5 clinger on our hands. Rachel McAdams' character when he's describing to the father all the things that are going on, and he's like, "I told you that in confidence. You're a member of the clergy or whatever. You're a member of the ministry. You can't do that. The painting was a gift, Todd. I'll be taking it." It's like, damn it. I mean, it's so funny. He gets shot in the ass. Baba Ganoush, you all right down there, Baba Ganoush? Crab cakes and football. That's what Maryland does. She gets jacked up. Very funny.
Wedding Crashers is the movie that, when I mentioned at the very beginning after we had already started, that I forgot the movie. Wedding Crashers was the movie that I forgot.
Gotcha.
So,
number 4 for me is Airplane. We've talked. I love Airplane. So again, I just rewatched it like a week ago or so, and fucking hysterical. From I have a drinking problem, and he just throws water on like the side of his head. To the one woman who's freaking out, and they keep going up and like shaking her. They're like, "Everything's gonna be okay," except it gets more and more violent with every person. Like someone shakes her, and then
like beating the shit out of her.
Well, yeah, someone shakes her, and then someone shakes her harder. Then someone shakes her harder and slaps her. Then someone shakes her harder and slaps her twice. And then they show the line, and there's like someone with a baseball bat. There's a nun holding a pistol. Someone's got like a metal chain. It's oh my god, it's hysterical. The I speak jive lady. When there's the 2 black guys that only speak in like 70s African American slang, and then there's this older white woman who comes up. She's like, "It's okay, I speak jive," and translates. the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar bit, not even to mention everything Leslie Nielsen does.
Dude, it's one of the most simple jokes ever, but still, surely you can't be serious. I am serious. So don't call me Shirley.
It's the easiest joke of all time, and it's so funny because he just has this deadpan, completely serious delivery throughout the whole movie. The autopilot that needs to be reinflated and the tube is right at the crotch, and she bends over and is inflating it, and from behind you just see it like pulsating, and Leslie Nielsen walks in and looks. Oh my god, it's so funny. The Lloyd Bridges, I sure picked the wrong week to quit smoking. Takes out a cigarette. Sure picked the wrong week to quit drinking. Then it's I sure picked the wrong week to stop taking amphetamines. And the last one, I sure picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. He takes out a thing of glue and just incredibly quotable and just so funny.
Yeah, number 4 for me, we can skip it. Number 4 for me is Happy Gilmore. We've talked about the movie ad nauseum on this channel. So, Josh, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is, you talked about underrated. I'm not underrating him at all. It's Andy Samberg. It's Hot Rod.
Sheesh!
It is so funny. I absolutely love this movie. One of like those first cult comedies that I really got into. It's just so good. Even like the stunt outtakes, him just collapsing everywhere. Mm-hmm. 2 things that I left off earlier too, by the way. The mob scene where they get out of there and Danny McBride's like, wow, who the hell would act like that? A bunch of animals. And then they cut to the next scene and he's just holding the TV in his hands. He's like, these people are savages, absolute barbarians. I mean, it's just too good, man. It's too good. I love that movie.
Number 3 for me, we've talked about it. It's Major League. From Bob Uecker to, you mentioned Jobu, my favorite line in the movie. Are you saying Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball? Just Charlie Sheen at his absolute best. I did consider putting Hot Shots Part Duh on here. But everyone in that movie is perfect. The Dorn, the third baseman, just dogging plays, and Tom Berenger just goes to his place and threatens him. Love it to death.
Number 3 is probably my hottest take. You're gonna hear me and you'll be like, whoa, why is this movie here? How did it end up here? Number 3 is the movie that made Christian Bale a star, and that's American Psycho.
It's very funny.
Yeah. So the kicker here is that the movie is actually a dark comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty unequivocally, and I don't even find the movie like that genuinely funny, but it is one of my favorite movies of all time, and there are funny parts in it, like still to me, where he's shooting like the amateur porn scene, and he goes, Christine, don't just look at it, eat it.
I like
the part where he's banging the girl and he just looks at himself and starts flexing in the mirror. Like, there's a lot of like that are genuinely very funny. Or like at the very end where the movie, spoiler, starts to turn into like this fantastical nightmare, and he's at the ATM, which we've talked about this ad nauseum. The ATM is the moment where the movie flips to not be real for me, because he walks up to the ATM and the ATM just says, "Feed me," and he picks up a cat and tries to stuff a cat into the ATM.
Dude, every one of his bullets that he shoots is an explosive round after that.
From there on out. Yeah, exactly.
That movie also a first Nunez watched with me, and I remember it because after the movie you're like, so like when did it? What was real? And I was like, what do you mean? And you're like, what do you think was real about it? It was all real, and I was like, what do you mean it wouldn't be real? Like, it was a mind fuck and a half. But the part 2, right before he kills, I think it's the first guy he kills. He goes,
Jared Leto.
Yeah, he's like, hey, you like Huey Lewis in the news?
Yeah,
and he's just like
obviously the
dancing around to it
iconic
with
Huey
the
Lewis
X.
in the news scene. He puts on the raincoat and he goes like this, and he's walking around. Yeah, underrated.
I'll count.
Obviously, is the other one where he's shooting the porn and the Whitney Houston rant that he goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Or even the scene where he's chasing down the girl naked with a chainsaw, but he's still wearing sneakers. Like he's wearing nothing but sneakers as he's chasing her, and then he like dangles the chainsaw over the staircase and just drops it on her. Yeah.
I personally, I think the business card scene is hilarious. It's
the
so
uncomfortable. My God. He even has a watermark as he just like trembles and drops it.
It's so like, oh, I do love American Psycho. The first time I watched that, or it was the second time I'd ever seen it. I was watching it with my parents because I told them about it, and my dad also got it. He thought it was very funny. My mom was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you two?"
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, that's very funny. Number 2?
Yeah, number 2.
I've long gone back and forth between these two movies that we've talked about.
Same.
We talked about this one a lot. But number 2 is Billy Madison. Billy Madison is so goddamn quotable for me. I can go through every minute of it. It's fantastic. Veronica Vaughn, sorry, not Veronica Corningstone. God damn it.
Yeah, that's Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, no. Veronica
Corningstone is from Anchorman.
Or that's Anchorman, yeah. No, what's the one for, what's her name from Happy Gilmore?
Well, yeah.
Isn't it also Veronica?
There is a her name from Happy Gilmore, because if we remember correctly, all of Adam Sandler's movies up until a certain point were the same movie.
Yeah.
Just with different women in it.
Yeah, who is Julie Bowen in that? I don't know. I don't even remember her name. But anyway, sorry. Billy Madison's great. It's also, it's touching. There's a lot of great parts.
Virginia. It was Virginia Bennett.
That's right.
Yeah.
The last part was like, Mr. Gilmore or Mr. Madison, what you've just said is by far the stupidest thing any of us have ever heard. Subjugating us to that was a point. I reward you 0 points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
On your soul.
that is a great line. All of it. Like I said, that seeing Bradley Whitford as Eric in that movie like ruined the first season of The West Wing for me, because I was like, this is a bad man. This is a bad man, Eric. It's very funny.
In many ways, Billy Madison is like quintessential Sandman.
Oh yeah.
Number 2 for me, you both meant it's Caddyshack.
That was number 1 for this guy.
I think I know.
It's gonna be something I haven't seen.
It's another sports movie, isn't it?
No.
Oh.
I was convinced Caddyshack was gonna be number 1.
No, Caddyshack is number 2. It's just Ted Knight might be the funniest person in the movie as Judge Smales. Like, just his ridiculous, like, I don't even know how to describe his character. He's just so ridiculous. You'll get nothing and you'll like it. Like, that whole thing. Gambling is illegal. It's Bushwood, Serge. He's so outwardly, like, overly posh and thinks he's all that. The way he asks Danny when he's talking about how he's going to be christening his new sleuth, and how would you like to mow my lawn? How about a fresca? Just everything about that movie is so goddamn funny.
I love a couple of my favorite too are you do drugs, Danny? Every day.
Good. Bill Murray spitting in his it's just he randomly spits at one point when Ty goes into like this shed there where he lives.
The weirdest 10 minutes of the movie, yes.
Yeah, and they're just having a conversation. Bill Murray just turns around and spits right on the floor. Cannonball coming, cannonball.
Kill all the golfers. Well, sir, I'm going to be honest with you. If I kill all the golfers, they're going to lock me up, throw away the key. Golfers, you idiot. What's the other one I was trying to... Hey, baby, you must. Last time I saw a mouth like that, it had a hook in it. Oh,
you must have been something before electricity, huh?
hey, he's a little sip. Rodney Dangerfield's great too.
We've talked Caddyshack to death, but
yeah. Number 2 for me is The Big Lebowski. I love the movie. Like you said, John Goodman steals every scene that he's in. Like even like the most iconic scene in the movie. So when he's at the bowling alley, and the whole Market 8 dude thing, and he just pulls the gun out of his fucking bag. He goes, "You're fucking Market Zero." That whole bit, or even John Turturro as the Jesus, and he's fucking doing this with his balls. And he's licking his balls. He's like, "You don't fuck with the Jesus." Like, or even like the simple things in the movie where the dude is driving around and CCR comes on and he starts banging on the top of his car when the song comes on. That's great. To me it's the best movie on the list that I have. I love Big Lebowski.
I don't fucking like the Eagles, man.
You changed the radio. What? Love the Eagles.
Also, Josh and I have the same number 1 movie, so we can talk about it together, and that's Anchorman.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did I know 18? 18? I mean, this has
easily
to be
the most quotable movie of all time for me.
It's hilarious. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. It's goddamn funny. Like I said, it's just the amount of times I've gone back to it and stuff just isn't as high as other movies on my list.
That's fair. I mean, damn, I'm just trying to think of all of them. Sex Panther. What smells like
60% of the time like, works every time.
It smells like Bigfoot's dick.
It's like someone took a dump of it, put Indian food in a diaper. Put Indian food in a baby's diaper.
Or even then, like the scene where Burgundy invites Corningstone into his office while he's working out. He's like, 1001, 1002.
Yeah, we're gonna need you to move out to Alaska, but you're gonna leave tomorrow. The station will send back a car. Yep, you're gone. You're gone. He's like, Champ, I see you. No, that's not Champ. You don't see him. They're fighting in the middle of the bullpen. You're a dirty pirate hooker. Your hair looks stupid. And it's like in his brain, he just goes crazy. He starts throwing the TV at him. Dude, it's wild. Fred Armisen with a crazy cool character who's like, "Hey, Mr. Ron Burgundy, jazz flute."
Mr. Ron Burgundy with the jazz flute, and he pulls it out of his sleeve.
See, now I also didn't realize that Anchorman. I guess I'd only seen the unrated version because then I was watching it and I was like, "Where's the one where he eats the cat poop? He's got to eat the cat."
Is that not in the theatrical cut?
I don't think it makes the theatrical. Yeah. So Fred Armisen forced him to eat the. There's also, and I was looking this up. There's like another movie that apparently the first original cut of Anchorman was like Corningstone became a newscaster at somewhere else in San Diego, and it was them competing.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it's a different script almost, and I was like, oh, I need to watch this. It's on YouTube.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that Anchorman shouldn't be your guys' favorite. I mean, it is just fucking hilarious.
I will say one of my favorite bits in the movie is Jack Black's cameo in the movie as just the motorcycle driver. And he goes, "You heard the thing that I love, man." And he goes, "What do you love?" I love scotch. I love my pal Baxter over here. He goes, "Oh yeah, you love that dog?" And he just grabs his dog and punts him over the fucking bridge. It's like the clearest doll.
Yeah.
Bastard, no!
I'm trapped in a glass case of emotion. The mean man punted Baxter. What are you
drinking a half gallon of milk for some reason?
Milk was a bad choice. Ron Burgundy, where have you gone? Yeah, machete in the bar. I'm gonna.
Yeah, Danny Trejo's in the movie. No, like after he says, "Go fuck yourself, Sandy," and there's the kid that looks at the TV and goes, "I hate you, Ron Burgundy."
I'm gonna need I need a haircut and I need a haircut and a new suit or whatever. He goes into the bathroom for like a second, comes out freshly chopped up. Damn, man, you clean up good. News team, assemble! With like the conch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't even want to talk about the alley fight.
Oh yeah.
Brick killed the guy. Yeah, I saw that.
With a
I
trident.
lay low for a while.
There were people running around, and someone had a I had a trident, and I killed the guy.
I had a hand grenade.
He's like, or even like the bit at the very beginning of the fight. Like Brick is is probably my favorite character in the movie. Where like Vince Vaughn and Public Access News or whatever their team is, they show up. And he's like joking or no, this is when they meet in the park earlier. And they're joking at each other, and Brick is on the other side, just laughing with Vince Vaughn. He goes, Brick, get back over here.
Where'd you get that outfit? The toilet store?
Yeah. He goes, when he pulls out the grenade at the beginning of the fight, and he goes, Brick, where did you get that? I don't know. Or even in the middle of the fight, where he's just running around, and then there's like randomly just a dude on fire, and then, and then there's a guy who gets caught in a net between two dudes riding horses. Like,
dude, all the cameos of the horse teams too. Tonight's top story: the streets run red with Burgundy's blood.
Right? Yeah, Ben Stiller as the Hispanic news anchor.
It's all great. It's all good. Oh, Dorothy Mantooth is a saint too. Is like killer line, killer Vince Vaughn line.
Right, because he's so cool and collected, and he just goes, Dorothy Mantooth is a saint. Mark, what's your number one comedy of all time?
It's Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
I
watched this movie every Saturday the year I was 12. Or actually, I was probably younger. I was probably like 10. I watched it every Saturday for a year. It's the single funniest movie I have ever seen. I used to be able to recite the entire script. Like, it is just unbelievably funny. And to talk about a subject matter that I usually hate, like the whole King Arthur shit is so played out, and none of them are good movies except for the one that completely parodies it. You mentioned the holy hand grenade of Antioch and the fact that he doesn't know how to count to 3. He goes 1, 2, 5, 3, sir, 3, and then he throws it like it. The documentarian of the movie who randomly gets his throat slit by a knight riding by on a horse. The police coming in at the end and just arresting everybody, and then the movie ends.
Right, it completely eradicates like the medieval bit.
Yeah,
it's like the cops just show up at the end of the movie.
The fact that they're banging 2 coconuts together because they don't have horses, which is because they couldn't afford horses for the movie. Like, they were like, yeah, we don't have enough budget for horses. What are we going to do? And they just figured out to just...
Yeah, they just wrote a bit. They just wrote a joke in it instead.
The Knights Who Say Knee is incredible. The Insult Castle, you silly Englishman. If we're silly English, what are you? I'm French. Don't you see I have this very silly accent? Obviously, your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberry. Like, every line in this movie is comedic gold. And it starts with what might be the funniest thing, which is there's this short that's going to happen at the start of the movie called Dentist on the Job. And it's got like 5 minutes of opening credits. And Dentist on the Job is about 30, not even, it's about 10 seconds long. It's someone who goes to walk into a dentist's office and then the film gets destroyed. And it just ends. But it's opening credits for like 5 minutes of this movie you will not see. And then there's an entire bit about like the people who were in charge of this have been fired. The people who were in charge of firing the people that got fired have been fired.
It's an ingenious bit.
The entire movie is the definition of comedic genius for me. There isn't a single part of that movie I don't laugh at. There's the guy at the start who's just piling mud on top of mud, and they have the whole conversation about the political structure of medieval England. And he's like, well, I am your king. Well, I didn't vote for you. Like, I probably still could quote the entire script. It's just Sir Galahad the Brave, then he's Sir Galahad the Cowardly by the end, like, because he just keeps running away from all of his troubles. I couldn't name a funnier movie. You guys for Anchorman is me for Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's just the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, excellent. I don't even know. I'm bad with segues, so
I respect it. I like the choice.
Spend the last 2 hours just quoting movies, and now I don't really know what to do with myself. Anyways, I guess that kind of does it for the episode. Yeah. It's not the longest episode we've done. It's only 2 hours, 16 minutes.
Less quotes than I anticipated.
Yeah. But before we head out, make sure to follow us on Twitter at HotStovePod. It's at HotStovePod on Twitter. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, notifications, all that good stuff. Hope you listened to the radio show this morning, and Mark's Weasel fact was great. Other than that, we will be back next week where we'll be doing our top, I don't know how many.
I'm assuming 10.
Probably 10. But we'll be talking Christmas movies next week.
I feel like that's a list that drops off rather quickly.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was arguing with myself whether or not to say 5 or 10.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about Christmas movies next week.
Before then, me and Mark will watch 8 Crazy Nights.
I also have not seen it, so.
Yeah, we'll have to watch it together.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, because we have the internet thing.
Yeah, that's right.
You know? Yeah. Anywho, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on The Hot Stove.
Peace.